The chair now recognizes Ms. Riva Duncan, Executive Secretary of Grassroots Wildland Firefighters and a retired fire staff officer with the U.S. Forest Service.
Thank you, Chairman Neguse, Chairman Grijalva, Ranking Member Westerman, Ranking Member Fulcher, and members of the subcommittee for allowing me to appear before you today. On December 31st, 2020, I retired from the U.S. Forest Service after 31 years with the agency. My position upon retirement was the Chief Fire Staff Officer for the Umpqua National Forest and Roseburg and Coos Bay BLM districts in Oregon. Over the course of my career, I worked in 5 Forest Service regions on 7 national forests in Pennsylvania, Florida, Utah, California, North Carolina, and Oregon. I have extensive experience on Type 2 initial attack crews, engines, a hotshot crew, heliTAC, and in fuels management. In my position as Chief Fire Staff Officer, I also provided critical agency leadership and guidance during large wildfire incidents throughout the U.S. There is much discussion on the wildfire problem. Larger and more destructive wildfires, a fire year instead of a fire season, significant socioeconomic impacts to communities and businesses, and tragic loss of life and property. Increasing demands on federal firefighters on the front lines have become a year-round requirement. While I am not a climate scientist like Dr. Law, I can attest to the increases in size, intensity, duration, and complexity of wildfires since I started my career. The 5 federal land management agencies have failed to keep pace with this changing dynamic, burdening the firefighters on the ground. The current federal fire workforce is woefully understaffed and overworked, and people are at their breaking point, leaving a wake of mental health issues, suicides, high divorce rates, and very concerning numbers surrounding high incidences of cancers and cardiovascular disease, all from a career of undocumented exposure to smoke, particulate matter, and other effects from hazardous conditions faced on every operational shift worked on wildfires. These agencies rely on a largely seasonal workforce. Many firefighters' tour of duty is 6 months. Several elected officials have called for the Forest Service to create a full-time year-round fire workforce. And while this seems like a viable solution on the surface, it is fraught with unseen consequences that detrimentally affect federal wildland firefighters. As wildfires grow larger and last longer, federal firefighters answer the call of duty, leaving behind their lives and families for upwards of 6 months annually, working in an average of 16-hour daily shifts, sleeping in the dirt, going without showers, working and sleeping in smoke, and given limited time off to reset and reconnect with loved ones. Pushing the current workforce beyond the brink to accomplish more with less on a year-round basis without a pay increase to support a living wage and increase staffing levels will only exacerbate these issues and accelerate resignations and more acute and long-term physical mental health issues. Technically and officially, there are no wildland firefighters in the federal government. Most who fight fire are classified as forestry technicians, range technicians, and some are biologists and administrators, yet all must hold paramount qualifications and meet physical fitness requirements. Wildland firefighters do more than just respond to wildfires. Federal wildland firefighters assist with hurricanes, floods, and COVID-19 vaccinations. They proudly responded to the 9/11 attacks in New York and at the Pentagon and assisted in space shuttle recovery. Yet the agencies won't officially recognize them even as first responders. Because of the embarrassingly low pay, most wildland firefighters must rely on extensive overtime and hazard pay to survive financially. An increase in compensation would alleviate financial burden placed on firefighters and their families and decrease the need for unsustainable amounts of overtime to survive financially. Missing just 1 2-week assignment due to injury or family emergency can translate into a loss of 10 to 20% of their annual salary. Having a stable and plannable income from an increase in base wage would alleviate the financial burden and protect employees from financial hardship in the event of a job-related injury. Firefighters are leaving federal workforce for more lucrative wildland jobs with state agencies, municipal departments, utility providers, and even insurance companies. These are people with many years of specialized experience and training who cannot be readily replaced. In my last 2 years with the Forest Service, we struggled to fill many of our positions. In 2020, for the first time, we could not staff all of our engines 7 days. Last year, firefighters under my charge overcame many challenges. First a pandemic, and then an historic wind event in Oregon and Washington that sent wildfires racing down our canyons and into our communities, destroying homes, lives, and cherished natural resources. I had more firefighters reach out for help with thoughts of suicide, depression, and traumatic events than at any other time in my career. I have driven a good friend to rehab. I have held onto a firearm for another friend who was afraid they would use it on themselves. And I have escorted the body of a fallen firefighter home to their family. I myself have struggled with my own demons after having several line of duty deaths and serious accidents occur on my watch. In closing, I am not here to disparage the U.S. Forest Service. These issues are larger than any one agency and will take complex and expensive solutions. It truly was my honor to serve the U.S. Forest Service and the American people. I loved working in fire, but I love the people I work with even more. I have grown weary of losing amazing friends and colleagues, and I have grown impatient with inaction. The U.S. is burning, wildland firefighters are struggling, and some are even dying. The time for reform is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan, for your testimony and for your service. We appreciate it.